Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ. It is a busy week. It is also the week of the Senior Bowl. Scouts, coaches, execs, all descending on Mobile, Alabama this week. More than 100 draft prospects will be there. And you can see our Scott Piolo, Ryan Wilson will be there all week, getting you ready for what we can expect from these guys, potentially improving their draft stock. Let's welcome in longtime NFL GM Scott Piolo there in Mobile, Alabama, to talk about some of the players that he is keeping an eye on this week. Scott, let's start with Alabama running back Brian Robinson. You and I talked about this before, his patience to become a star at Alabama, to become a starter for that matter. Yeah. What are you hoping to see from him this week?
Well, I'm hoping that he gets to display all that he is. I know what he is, which is a big back with tremendous speed, good cutting ability, good hands. Again, he's a 3-down back, meaning that he can play on first and second down, which is the running game, and also in the passing game. So to me, I'm just waiting to see him show the rest of the world, because scouts only got to see him one time, meaning one season. So I'm really excited for him to have a chance to show and display all that he's about. And again, in terms of makeup, impeccable. He is the total kind of guy that you want on a team if you're building a championship team.
Someone else you're keeping an eye on there is Trey McBride, who's absolutely incredible there out of Colorado State. I was talking to our Ryan Wilson, and he said, absolutely, this is the #1 tight end in this draft class there. Tell us more about Trey McBride.
He's the #1 tight end and a guy going into the season that very few people knew about, because Colorado State in the Mountain West Conference is a little bit off the grid. But Trey led the country in terms of tight ends with 90 receptions this year, and he was a John Mackey Award winner. But he has this very good combination of being a good receiving tight end and can also block. A good friend of mine who actually coached me in college, Frank Leonard, was one of his position coaches this year, talks about how smart he is, how detailed he is. So I think the scouts know how good he is on tape, but they're going to get to see him even more this week in terms of his makeup and how smart he is.
Is that somebody that you think in Trey McBride could potentially be a first rounder? I've looked through Ryan Wilson's mock drafts, and sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. Where do you think he could potentially end up?
Yeah. Well, you know, it depends on, it's not just best player and best player at the position. It depends on need. And based on the teams that need a tight end and how badly they think they need a tight end, again, the round thing always kind of screws me up a little bit, because we're projecting that we believe that we know what teams need. But there is a chance he has the talent to be a first-round tight end.
All good points there. All right, another guy we're keeping an eye on, Boston College offensive lineman Zion Johnson. This is somebody who could have gone into the draft last year. He chose to return to school. What should we see from him this week?
You know, it was a great decision for him to stay in another year. He's a transfer from Davidson College, and he played 2 years at Davidson, transferred up to Boston College, and he's one of these guys that come combine time is going to be an absolute test freak. And when you watch him on tape, you can see how well he moves, his change of direction, his initial quickness. He is lined up at both guard positions, both tackle positions, so he has a lot of versatility, not just physically, but intellectually. So Zion Johnson did a really smart thing by coming back for another year and getting a full year of real ACC competition. And he's going to be an interesting guy to watch this week, because he's going to be lining up all week, probably at multiple positions.
Finally, Penn State defensive end Arnold Ekakitie. He played just one season for Penn State, transferred from Temple. But, Scott, he made a huge impact for that team.
Yeah, he really did. This year he had 9.5 sacks and 18 tackles for loss, which is those are big numbers. And again, he's a guy who is, as you mentioned, transferred from Temple. Didn't play a whole lot at Temple, but was getting better each year if you talk to the folks that were coaching him at Temple. Then he gets to Penn State, and at Penn State you've seen him get better on tape, where he's one of those players that teams are going to be really intrigued because of his tools, which are outstanding. His quickness, his explosiveness, his ability to get off of blocks, and his heavy hands. But what we're seeing is a player that is trending and developing upward, and those are the guys that teams like to pick, especially if they can rush the passer, which Arnold certainly can.
Scott, I was texting with Ryan Wilson. He wants you to know that he is on his way. He will be there very soon to hang out with you all week. Scott Piolo, we appreciate it. We'll check in with you very soon there from the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. And again, Senior Bowl coverage all week long here on CBS Sports HQ. You can stream it live. As I mentioned, we got Scott Piolo there, longtime GM, 5-time NFL Exec of the Year. Also, Ryan Wilson, our draft expert. They will give us live hits from Mobile all week long. Keep it right here on HQ. That's it for this hour of CBS. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.